Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar to discuss FTA's recently published request for information on transit safety concerns. I'm Gail Lissy, Acting Associate Administrator for FTA's Office of Transit Safety and Oversight. I've been with FTA for over 25 years and previously served as FTA's Regional Administrator in Region 6. At FTA's Office of Transit Safety and Oversight, we strive to advance safe, reliable, and equitable transit services across the United States. One important function of that responsibility is the identification of hazards, risks, and concerns that threaten the safety of the nation's transit systems, its workers, and its users. FTA uses its safety risk management process, known as SRM, to identify, assess, and mitigate these risks and hazards to work towards reducing injuries and fatalities in the industry. The safety concerns that FTA analyzes and addresses through its SRM process are captured and prioritized in FTA's SRM action plan. Today, we will be talking about the request for information on transit safety concerns, and we encourage you to be a part of the action planning process by sharing your input regarding information and data for identifying transit safety concerns that you believe should be evaluated by FTA for potential action at the federal level. We value your unique perspectives and insights, and I would like to thank you for your engagement and partnership in this important undertaking. I'll now turn over the presentation to Raybiz, FTA's Division Chief for Safety Assurance and Risk Management, who will present more information about the RFI and where to share your feedback. Ray, it's all yours.
Thank you, Gail. Good afternoon and good morning to everyone. My name is Raybiz, as Gail mentioned, and I'm the Division Chief for Safety Assurance and Risk Management within the Office of Transit Safety and Oversight. As Gail mentioned, I'll be walking you through the details of the request for information for transit safety concerns. Next slide. FTA is responsible for a public transportation safety program to improve the safety performance of the nation's transit systems. FTA adopted the principles and methods of safety management systems, otherwise known as SMS, as the foundation of the safety program. These principles and methods enable FTA to proactively identify and address safety risk at the industry level. With this RFI, FTA is soliciting input from the public regarding FTA's safety priorities. In particular, the public is asked to provide information and data that can be used by FTA for consideration when identifying and prioritizing safety concerns in the SRM action plan. Next slide. Today, we will review the background of this RFI before providing an overview of the questions it poses to the public. We will then highlight submission details such as key dates, how to submit comments, and the point of contact for respondents. Next slide. In August 2016, FTA published the National Safety Program Regulation. This regulation establishes practical and procedural rules for FTA's administration of the program to carry out the Public Transportation Safety Program mandate to improve the safety of transit systems. In July 2018, FTA published the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan Regulation, which requires certain transit agencies to adopt SMS principles and methods, develop, certify, implement, and update agency safety plans, ASPs, and coordinate ASP elements with other FTA programs and rules. Through implementation of ASPs and SMS processes, transit agencies proactively identify safety hazards and mitigate safety risks within their system. In 2019, FTA implemented its internal safety risk management process, known as SRM, to proactively identify and address safety concerns within the transit industry. FTA assesses safety topics identified in FTA's SRM action plan through its SRM process. Currently, FTA is analyzing 4 safety concerns through the SRM process and is developing the next SRM action plan to prioritize safety concerns for future analyses. With this RFI, FTA seeks to gather information and discover valid and reliable aggregate data from the public to support the identification of safety concerns at the federal level. This RFI is open to transit industry personnel, researchers, contractors, government entities, transit users, and others. LTA believes that the transit industry input is important in identifying and proactively mitigating safety concerns impacting the transit community. As such, LTA requests information from the public on safety concerns the industry believes LTA should consider including in its next SRM action plan. Next slide. The following list of topics, areas, and questions are intended to guide respondents in responding to the RFI. Respondents may respond to any question and do not need to answer all questions. The first topic area is safety concerns. LTA's questions to the public are: what transit safety concerns should LTA consider analyzing through its SRM process for small transit providers, large transit providers, rail, bus, and multimodal transit providers? Briefly describe why each identified safety concern should be considered, including any database evidence that may be available. And are there any new or emerging safety concerns that may not yet appear in the industry data, either through near misses or not meeting reportable thresholds, for example, that should be analyzed by LTA to proactively mitigate future impacts? Next slide. The next topic area is sources of information and data. LTA's questions to the public on this topic include: are there additional resources of information and data beyond those detailed in this request that may help inform LTA's identification of high priority safety concerns for the SRM process and potential action at the federal level? Are there additional sources of information and data beyond those detailed in this request that LTA should consider in supporting the assessment and mitigation of identified transit safety risks? And should data sources outside of those maintained by transit agencies and LTA, such as geographic or demographic data, be considered to support the identification of safety concerns and assessment and mitigation of safety risks? If so, which data sources and why? Next slide. The final topic area is examples. The questions are as follows: what are examples of safety concerns evaluated by a transit agency that can be shared with FCA? What are examples of high impact data that supported the identification of safety concerns and hazards at the corresponding safety risk assessment and mitigation that can be shared with FCA? And is there anything else FCA should know regarding the identification of safety concerns for the SRM process? Next slide. This slide provides an overview of the key dates and addresses for the RFI. FTA requests comments by August 16, 2021. You may file comments identified by docket number FTA 2021-15078 by any of the following methods: through the Federal Register, through the Federal e-rulemaking portal by following the online instructions for submitting comments at the address on your screen, by mail or hand delivery, or by fax. For comments delivered by hand, we want to remind you that the U.S. Department of Transportation building is open between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday, except on federal holidays. Next slide. All comments received into the docket will be made public in their entirety, excluding exceptions outlined in the Federal Register notice. The comments will be searchable by the name of the individual submitting the comment or signing the comment if submitted on behalf of an association, business, labor union, etc. You should not include information in your comment that you do not want to be made public. You may review the U.S. Department of Transportation's complete Privacy Act statement in the Federal Register published on April 11, 2000, or at the website listed here. Next slide. We would like to thank you for joining today's webinar, and for further information on this RFI, please contact me at ray.biggs@dot.gov. Again, thank you for attending this webinar, and we look forward to receiving your comments.